Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I am Gitbag the Great. This is my first video game review of Shellshock Live. This is one of the most expansive and enjoyable games I have played so far this year. You don't really have that much of story to go on, and really there isn't that much in-depth analysis to be made of this game. It's actually remarkably simple, and quite rightly so, to be honest, because you have a game on your hands that is a very, very simplistic concept that has been done sometimes in the past, and you can see reflections of in a certain sense in games like Worms and other similar sort of team-based, turn-based angle shooters, as I would probably call them, but there's something about this game that I think you'll really like. It's a concept that has been done before, the tank-based angle shooting environment sort of multiplayer game, which has been done before in certain formats, but there hasn't really been a game done this openly to a sort of multiplayer online community as Shellshock Live has done. It's only been released quite recently, and as currently I got it from a friend as a gift essentially. But if you find it on most storefronts, you usually only find it for a few quid, and it is an absolute steal. Now, first of all, I think it's only right that I should go onto the firing range and show you how this game works before we go into some multiplayer matches and see how the game works in actual real-time combat. So here we are in the firing range. As you can see, it kind of looks similar, akin to something like you would see in one of the old Worms games. Now, this tank here is yours. You'll know which one is yours by the fact that it's highlighted in green rather than red or blue, depending on which team you're on. Now, you have your little hub here. This shows your tank and its status here. You've got your fuel here, which shows how much you can move in a single turn. Your items, which show the multiple different general purpose items you can deploy, such as shields, tracers, jetpacks, supply drops, EMP blasts and teleports, and then your weapons, of course. Now, you won't get all of these in one go in an actual combat situation in the game, but this just shows the weapons that you yourself have at a given time, depending on how much you progress through the game. Then, of course, you've got your fire button here and the leave game sort of button here. To enter into chat, you just press enter and then just type whatever message you want to give. Now, I should mention that the weapons you get at the beginning of each round is, or rather at the beginning of each match, is randomized. After several turns, your weapons depot will be replenished with some new weapons from the arsenal that you have unlocked throughout your progression through the game, and it may or may not be somewhat favourable to the situation you find yourself in. The game can be a bit piss-taking with how unlucky it can be with you sometimes. Sometimes the randomization of what weapons you'll get from your weapons pool in the garage can be very, very generous to the situation you'll find yourselves in, but considering it is randomized, sometimes you'll get something you really, really don't need. Of course, that's kind of the nature of these kind of games, and I think it's a kind of aspect that has no sort of right or wrong to it. I mean, it can be seen as a bit annoying, I suppose, but at the same time you have to really take it with a pinch of salt. That's kind of just what you go with when you take a game like this into account. Now, I should mention the way that the weapons are fired is kind of basically similar to one another. The game does work on a very simple gravity basis, in that firing gunshots over a certain distance will yield a certain gravity drop sense, in that over a distance they will drop over an increasingly longer distance of space, depending on how hard and far and at what angle you shoot your shot. Now, I've just loaded a standard shot here, and we'll see what happens when I fire it at a 65-degree angle with 55 power. As you can see there, of course, it doesn't go in a straight line. and then just dissipates, it actually does adhere to a very simple and straightforward, but quite frankly very functional, and I would say very sort of simplistic, but really quite sort of applicable sense of gravity and game progression. This kind of simple gravity is kind of the central crux, I feel, of how the game can be played, and it does tend to, more often than not, work to the benefits of the player depending on how well they've shot. And the game can be judged by and large by eye, depending on how much power and shot can go. Now, as you can see, that shot was a little bit short, so I've increased the power by 15. And we'll fire a sinkhole shot, as you'll see, is a very, very powerful weapon. Basically, just kind of creates a sort of sinkhole of sorts to just clear the land, and can do a shit ton of damage if you hit it directly on your opponent. Now, of course, you only get one shot a round, and if you miss it, you do, of course, open yourself up to being hit quite considerably by your opponents. However, this game is more so based on judging the distance and angle of your shots, and judging it by eye. If you don't hit your target, you can always try again the next turn and judge it off of what you've achieved in the last turn with your shot. For example, as you can see, my shot was reasonably close to the target tank there, so I'm just going to decrease it by 4 and fire another sinkhole shot. Which, as we can see, was a perfectly timed hit. Go to a sub-sniper. And now we can hit him directly. So as you can see, it's based pretty much entirely off of judging the distance and shot of your gun rounds by eye. And of course, if you fail, you can just judge it again through some minor alterations. Kind of like how artillery was used around this time of the First World War, in a sense, I would suppose. And that's really kind of all there is to the game. You move around with the WAS and D keys, and you move around your angle with the side-to-side sort of arrow keys, and you decrease and increase the power of your shots with the up and down arrow keys. Really, that's kind of all there is to this game, so I'll get into some gameplay and actually show you how this game operates in actual active combat situations against other players. So, let's get on to it. Okay, so now you can see we are here in a actual combat match against some real opponents. And you can see there that I have got some time to move before the round begins with a the little bit of tiny fuel, and it does that at the beginning of every match for both the team that's first to start and the team that is second to start. So I'll just show you a bit of the combat. There's really not that much else to explain about the game other than what I've already said, which is really quite straightforward. Now, the way this match has been set out is there is the capability of both of the teams to fire at the same time, so it's a lot more of a dynamic combat mode. Of course, some might not like this so much, so you might want to play it by turns, which is entirely within your right. Got a rather good 60 HP damage shot with the digger round. I would say, though, that in all honesty, in my opinion, the turn-based mode is a lot more favourable and a lot more enjoyable, really. I mean, again, it's kind of really just down to what you prefer yourself, but then again, it's just, in my opinion, the all-at-once sort of mode, as you can see I'm playing now, is very chaotic and only can really work in big 4v4 matches like this, or when you have really high HP loaded, again, like in this match. There's nothing really inherently wrong with that. It of course depends on how you prefer to play the game, but I would personally prefer to play the game in like 2v2 or 3v3 mode matches with turn-based combat. It just seems to me like and so I think we'll just we'll head off for now, and we'll meet up again in a more relaxed and civilized turn-based match. So I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, so here we are now in a turn-based match. As you can see, this is a bit more slower paced. The attacking team that goes first does get a bit of movement. At the beginning of the game, you do get a bit more fuel to move around than you do at the beginning of each individual turn. So I think we're going to go first with a helicopter strike, which has quite a sort of a long sort of radius effect. Perfect shot. I mean, the power was a bit much, but I did have to bounce off the side of the mountain, which did ultimately work against. Now, one thing I should also actually mention is that at the end of each game, you're rated on the damage that you've done with each individual weapon and how much damage you've done overall to the enemy tank. Not only this, you also get judged on how much XP and points you get, depending on how much you've done just generally throughout the game. Depending on this, you may get a certain amount of XP, and your weapon may be a slightly higher rated one, because every time you go up a level, you unlock a new weapon. This is quite an interesting rate of progression throughout the game. It's actually quite sort of user-friendly. Sure, it doesn't have the most immediate explanations, and the game can be somewhat cryptic with how some of the functions are used, but the game is so simplistic, you don't really need to read too much into it. Like I said, this is a very simple concept, and it's done really well. I mean, like I said, some of the game's concepts do get a bit of time to getting round to, because it doesn't really explain all of them to the fullest extent, but it kind of just leaves you up to exploring the game, really, and finding them out for yourselves, which I think works just fine enough, to be honest. I mean, like I said, the game can be explored at its most extent through just firing. As you can see here, I'm doing quite terribly. Now, one other thing actually also I should mention is the fact that whenever you kill a tank, or a lot of the time when you kill a tank, it will explode and produce one or two little golden tokens with a green tank icon on it, and if you quickly click on one of those before anyone else does, you get a free upgrade acquisition point for your tank. Now, as far as I'm aware, the upgrade capabilities of your tank are pretty much unlimited throughout the game, and you upgrade it on the basis of luck, armour, gun, and alternative capabilities, so it has a bit of openness in how you want to play the game. Now, as far as I'm aware, it isn't limited. You can sort of upgrade, do a tank as you want, really, and the game does have a nice level of progression. It's very open towards how much you do throughout the game, and I really think that's quite a user-friendly way of doing it. It's very open to the capabilities of the player, rather than basing it off of what kind of weapons you have. I mean, I've done really well in certain games. Oh, there you see. There you see, that icon that I just clicked on, that was what I was talking about. So, sometimes when tanks are destroyed, they produce little icons like that, and if you quickly click on it, you get an extra token for upgrading a tank at the end of the game. Also, sometimes during rounds, you'll get randomly generated objects for each individual round, dotted throughout the map, like that 2x damage icon there. If you, of course, get it and then hit your opponent with your shot, you'll, of course, end up doing ×2 damage to them. And there are other ones like deflective shields and circles that, if you go inside, will basically protect you, or deflect any shots from, again, like the individual shield itself. I'm probably going to die here because I'm on very low health, and the guy literally just has to sneeze at me in order to take me out now. And really, that's all I can really say about the gameplay. It's a very simple game. It's very simple and applicable to how anyone might want to play it. The way it's played is remarkably simple and open, and it operates in the same way that kind of like, say, something like Order Tanks or Rainbow Six Siege does, in that anyone can kill anyone, and it's quite an open game that, you know, relies a lot on skill, of course, but at the same time is not so elitist that you can completely conquer the game depending on whatever weapons you have. There are some weapons in this game that are a little bit OP, so it's nerf and can change the shift of the game if hit just right. But like I said, the game is also largely based on individual skill, timing, range, and just your visual perception of how the game works and what your position is in a certain match. And I think that really helps to balance out how the game works and kind of removes a lot of the elitist problems that a lot of modern multiplayer shooters tend to have. This is one of the more unique games to come out so far this year. It's not the most unique concept I've ever seen in a shooter game, but I tell you what, it works damn well fine for what it is, even considering the fact that we have kind of seen this concept before in other games. So I would definitely give this game the recommendation. You'll find it mostly either free or only for a few quid on game fronts, and I can't really say anything about its story because it doesn't really have one. It's just a very simple, fresh concept that we haven't seen in a while, and it's executed very well. It's a nicely polished little game, it's got decent custom support, and it's a very open game to new players, whether or not you're low level or high level. So I'd say pick this game up if you can see it on your storefront, or even if you just heard about it by me, I'd say give Shellshock Live a go. Its concept I would give a rating out of 9 out of 10, just because we've just seen it before, but it's executed marvellously. The gameplay itself, I would say, is again probably a 9 out of 10. The visual design, I would say, is a 10 out of 10. It's very simple, very clear and crisp. It's nice and cartoonish enough that it's easy to take lightly. The sound design, I would say to give a 9 out of 10, just because the music can be a bit too loud even if you turn it down to its lowest possible rating without muting it. And finally, I would probably have to say that the design overall of the game is a 10 out of 10. It's a great game that I would think is more than worth picking up. I think this is probably going to end up being one of the best games of the year, and I highly recommend you get it if you see it in your storefronts like Steam or really anywhere else, and pick it up right now, or if it's on sale, pick it up then as well, because it is an absolute steal. I think there's really nothing else I can say about it other than check it out for yourself, and when I say that it's a very open game. It can of course be a little bit daunting at first in terms of how you approach it. Really, it's so simplistic that you can just approach it willy-nilly and you'll have a fun time regardless. So I would say just go for it anyway. It doesn't really matter if it's quite a few quid, because it's such a game that's worth it that I would say you don't really need to worry too much about the cost. It's usually quite cheap though, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. As you can see here, the MVP and the amount of damage each individual player has is rated at the end of this screen. And this is where the XP is also counted up. As you can see there, I've got one of those tank tokens. And when you level up, you'll be given a choice to unlock a new upgrade to your tank. And half the time when you finish a round, you'll also unlock a new weapon. This, of course, depends on whenever you finish a complete challenge or you finish leveling up. So I think that's really all that can be said about Shellshock Live. Like I said, I would give it a high recommendation. It's a very simple game, but it's very, very enjoyable and very, very open and applicable to most playstyles and most gamers. So if you've enjoyed this review, leave a like, comment, favourite and subscribe and all that good stuff. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed this first video game review on my channel. I've done video games before, but in a written format on a written blog. So this is my first video game review in a video format. I hope you guys, of course, have enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe and all that good stuff. And if you have anything to like contribute or criticise, leave it in the comments so I can judge like what I should do next time if I ever do another video game review on this channel, and if you guys want me to do another one. So, of course, until next time, I've been Gitbag the Great reviewing Shellshock Live. I hope you guys all have fun with this game, and until next time, I'll see you guys on the battlefield.